Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Soundbites of Immigration Success. We're happy to have you with us. We bring this series to you so you can get to know your fellow consultant, hear their journey and story, maybe a failure and a success or two, and how they've overcome that, and their final words of advice to you. I'm happy to have with me today Martine Varekamp-Bos. Martine, welcome.
Thank you.
Martine, tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to become an immigration consultant.
Well, I'm glad to be here, Monica. Thank you for asking me. I have been an immigration consultant since 2008. I got into it kind of through two different routes, I guess. I came in as an immigrant myself as a teenager, and my parents actually came as self-employed farmers. I was probably a little bit too old to move to a different country because I was a nightmare for my parents those first few years. But that has sparked just of living in an immigrant community, some of my interest in it. And as you know, we had our family farm, and the farm I now run with my husband. We've had, some foreign workers over the years, and we've helped them with their paperwork. So it's always interested me. And what I always, people in the immigrant community would always talk, and everybody always had ideas of how to do it. And I was like, I just want to know how it's really done and what is actually right. So that's really how I got into it, and I enrolled in the program at Bow Valley College back then with some great instructors. And from there, I started my sole practice in 2008, 2009, and it's kind of grown from there. I started out slow. I actually had 3 kids while those first few years, and then I hired 1 staff, and now I have 6. And yeah, it's just grown from there, and I've really tried to focus on corporate employment-based immigration, so helping employers, and a large group of those are in the agricultural sector, through my own network, with LMIAs to work permits and then transition to permanent residency. That would be the biggest chunk of my work. I also enjoy doing some LMIA exemption type work permits and some spousal ones, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. But that would be the biggest type of or the biggest types of applications that we would do.
So, an interesting story. You were an immigrant yourself. I know I've heard you tell the story that you immigrated twice. Do you want to share that a little bit with our audience?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, I came here with my parents when I was 13, and I actually moved to Scotland for 4 years. I did my degree there, and then I briefly came back to Canada. I met my now husband, who was here on a working holiday visa, or working holiday permit, sorry, and he went back to the Netherlands, so I moved back there with him. And maybe with the intention to stay there. And then he actually really, wanted to come back to Canada. So that's how we came back here, and I sponsored him.
So
that time it was by choice.
Well, so you're really able to relate to your clients because you've been through the journey as a child and then as an adult. Yeah. I know that you reside in rural Alberta and you work in a community that's fairly small. What are the challenges for you as an immigration practitioner working in a smaller setting? Do you like it, or do you struggle with it?
I mean, I like it. I live here, I guess, by choice. I like it a lot. I think some of the challenges that were bigger actually when I first started out, now that remote work has been so much easier. It's easier to build up a network, but I think that's what I miss the most is really having colleagues nearby to work with. I really didn't have much of an option if I wanted to live here than to start out on my own. And I didn't have an opportunity to work with anybody else because there really wasn't anybody here at the time doing this type of work. So I learned a lot as I went along. I don't know if I necessarily advised it, kind of taking the plunge like that. I think nowadays I would advise a consultant really to work closely with somebody else in their early years.
So I guess this is a great segue into, you talked a little bit about the challenge of working in a smaller community, but what would you say for you in your careers, you've been doing this since 2008, have been some of your biggest challenges, and how have you tackled them to solve them?
Yeah, I think like the biggest challenge was, I think, just being a sole practitioner. And we have staff, but it's not necessarily the same as dealing with or working with other consultants or lawyers. So that has been a challenge. And CAPIC has been great with that. I've been a CAPIC member since 2008. And just finding those like-minded people that you can reach out to has been critical. In 2020, actually an immigration lawyer, sorry, came to my area and actually reached out to me, and I was ready to move to a different space. So in 2020, we share a space here in Red Deer. We share some staff, some overhead, and really, I think that's been it's really helped me elevate my practice. Also my joy in the work is you can really have somebody to share it with too, and to just work on strategy for clients together and feel that you're not as alone in it. So I think finding those people that you can collaborate with, and it's a two-way street, of course, and it's you also need to be open to them, and Karen's the immigration lawyer that I work with. Her and I really always make it a priority to answer each other's calls and work through each other's questions.
So that's something that you took on 15 years into your career. So it goes to show that we continue to evolve and grow
Yeah.
as pressures change and we make decisions in our career, and different pressures from family and life. So taking that leap it expanded your network, you shared overhead, as you say, you elevated your practice, maybe took on different types of clients or an ability to share those types of clients. Yeah, I love that. So I guess my other challenge to you is probably at this stage of your career, you're not doing any marketing or advertising, and probably most of your clientele's word of mouth. In the beginning, how did you get your clients?
Well, a big part it was for me was being active in our local business community, finding those employers there through industry groups. So like I mentioned before, like they have strong roots to the agricultural sector. So there is industry associations that I would connect with, reach out to. And over the years, I mean, some of them ask me to come and do like an immigration update at their AGM every year. And so those types of things and it's really kind of a giving back to them, providing them with updates, and then being an expert available in their wheelhouse for their members.
So now as a consultant of what, 15, no, almost 20 years, how do you distinguish yourself from the 13,000 other immigration consultants?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, it's not totally answering your question, but what I found interesting to see how other people do this, and my husband actually always said this about farming. He's like, there's so many ways to farm, but there's always so many ways to be an immigration consultant, whether you do it working in a law firm, whether you do it as a sole practitioner, whether you do it from an office in your basement or in a shared office space. There's so many ways to do it. And I think that's kind of really neat to see how everybody else does it and to compare. So for me, I really just have stuck to charting my own plan. And although I see what other people are doing, I just kind of stick to my own plan and focusing on the relationships and the contacts that I've built and sticking through that. And yeah, most of the business, like you said, is through word of mouth. I have a little bit of social media presence, but that's really just to have the presence, but I'm not really actively marketing to actually build my client base. It is a lot of word of mouth.
So, I mean, when you started off and when we started off, immigration was a much smaller field. There were fewer programs, but now it's so vast. I mean, they say with including the PNPs, we have 80 or 90 different streams. And I know you yourself focus on different specific areas. Would you say it's harder to be a generalist now, and it's probably better to focus on 4 or 5 different areas?
Um, I would say that, but we kind of all still need to be a generalist at some point. Like we still need to be able to direct somebody to another program and refer to somebody else. We still need to know the key markers of all the different programs. And that really has been one of the biggest challenges as immigration has become so vast, is that just trying to at least keep up to date on the changes, on the program requirements. Yeah, when I started, there was really only the federal skilled worker program and a couple of PMP programs, and I could rattle off the requirements on the spot. And that has definitely changed.
Yeah, sometimes when you get questions that are on programs, as a consultant, you really have to look it up and before you answer that question, so your answers are sure. So my final question to you is, what kind of advice would you have for somebody starting out today, or what advice would you have for young Martine back in 2008?
Well, my advice really would be, one is to, I think, just start out slow, and really give yourself the time to get good at what you're doing. Don't take on, 20 files at once. Like, start out slow and build process that you can really expand on as you grow, and, build those templates and stuff like that. And with that, starting out slow, also, like, take the time to stay up to date, be knowledgeable about the changes that are out there. I mean, it's not great when a client reaches out to you about a program update that you had missed. So it's, and that is, with all the updates that have come out, that is a challenge. So being really focused on staying up to date, and, CAPIC is a great resource in that, they're sending out these updates. So staying on top of that would be critical in that, taking your time and getting good at what you do. Another one really would be to get involved in your industry. And that is like being involved with CAPIC through one of their committees, attending their events, to really build your network and find people that, that you align with. And then thirdly, really in finding clients. What has worked for me is really to become involved with the local chamber and local industry groups, to find clients that way. I think that has been, I think, more effective for me than really just marketing and putting up your billboards or your Google ads. It's really building a name for yourself within your, whether it's your local immigrant community, your local business community, or a certain industry that you want to focus on.
So it's really almost showing your authentic self in those settings where you're really out meeting people and showcasing your knowledge and what you do. So
Yeah.
Martine, if you had a choice, would you do it all over again? Would you pick this career?
Oh, good question. I think I would. But I think the time has never been challenging as it is now, and I've actually never been as discouraged as I have been with this work as I am now. So I'm really trying to find the positives in it. And many of the challenges are, and Monica, we've talked about this, is around just like the constant updates and changes, and the difficulty in effectively communicating with immigration is a challenge. And then thirdly, what is really, and it's also a very hot topic now, is just um, it's really what's happening in our industry with the LMIA sales and fraud. It's incredibly discouraging to see how vast it is, and to see people really preying on other people's desperation. It's just making me quite sad to hear about it so much. So yeah, I've been discouraged in that part. So I'm really trying to find out, okay, well, what is bringing me joy in this? And that is, making a difference, one
Yeah.
application at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, well, one application at a time is sometimes all you can do. And for our audience out there, Martine is very involved in the industry and advocates with CAPIC on different facets. She's very involved in her community. So I guess so that we leave this on more of a positive note. If our fellow consultants out there were wanting to make a difference, obviously, um, beyond just volunteering, what would you say it would be? Would it be just really informing their clients really well and giving great service and just remembering their ethics? Would you say that would be the best way that they could represent the industry?
Yeah, I like 100% keep your moral compass in check. As there is, I think that would be, but that would be a big one, and sticking to that. If it doesn't smell right, it is not right. And sticking to that, and being, and again, this kind of comes back to, like, you can do this so many ways. So find a way to be an immigration consultant that fits with you. Focus on the types of work that you want to do. And I mean, there's so much, whether you want to go very corporate, whether you want to go agencies, and there's so much in there that you can focus on that aligns with you, so that you stick to what you enjoy. And that's really what I'm trying to do here too, really kind of going back to my agricultural roots, which are important to me, to kind of find that joy.
Well, that's a great way to end this. So start slow, focus, be up to date, be involved, build your network, find joy, be your true authentic self, and one application at a time. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, Martine, for sharing your story.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was great, good fun.
And thank you for our audience for listening today. We look forward to bringing you the next one. Take care.